You and Bryan, you guys got married in Mexico in 2019.
Yes.
Most bachelor relationships do not last. What is the secret to making your guys work?
I think for us, it's obviously communication, sacrifices, and support. But when you're coming off a reality show and the odds are against you, I think the biggest thing for Bryan and I was to remove ourselves from everything and immerse ourselves into each other's realities. We didn't perform for Bachelor Nation on social media or attending certain events. We didn't perform, like just publicly in general. We weren't caught up in necessarily the fame of things or having to prove ourselves to Bachelor Nation. We just were trying to prove ourselves to each other.
Do you feel like that pressure you just mentioned, has it sort of subsided, or is there always a pressure in the back of your mind because people think, oh, they're not going to last. Oh, they're a bachelor couple. There's a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah, I think some people think that we're performing because we lived separately from each other, but we always knew we were coming back together. It was like, I got the jump start here, settled us down, and then when Bryan shut down his practice, he came. I didn't just move with no end in sight. So I think us living long distance from one another, we don't post each other on social media all the time. And then also because we haven't had children, and I was very vocal when we got off the show that I wanted to have 4 kids. And because I haven't prioritized a family, or people think I haven't, then there's all this outside opinions of, oh, they don't really want to be together. They're just using each other because they're not growing their family. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things that people say to me is when they assume about why we don't have children, as if it's like simply, I don't want them.
Do you guys want to start a family? Do you want to expand the family? Is that on the wish list?
I am glad you asked because I haven't been vocal about it. Other than when people ask, I'm like, yes, we want children. But it was really hurtful when I went through the stuff with Chris Harrison and people were saying death threats and wishing that I was infertile. That's really tough. And then people assume that just because we don't have children, that we're not trying. Bryan and I both want children, and it's not as easy as it is for everyone. And it's not, yes, I prioritize my career, but Bryan and I have been together for over 4 years at this point. It's not like we're not trying.
So you are trying to have a family right now?
Yes. Okay. And we've been we are trying to have a family now, and we've been even more proactive in 2022. Like now we're having to explore other options because it's just not happening the way that we thought it would in a natural way. And the reason I'm happy you asked me is because I feel like we need to have these conversations more. We've got to stop assuming that just because you don't see someone pregnant, that they don't want to be pregnant. We want to be pregnant. We want to grow our family. And I've literally started to talk to friends and get numbers of doctors in the LA area about exploring IVF. I didn't freeze my eggs. I wish I had. But again, it's not happening as easy as we would like for it to.
So you guys are strongly considering IVF. You're going to do the shots. Yeah. You're going to make it happen. Is there a timeline on that?
And can I also say, and this is also very honest, it's scary when you haven't been I didn't freeze my eggs, so I don't know what my situation is. And it's actually, I don't want to get emotional, but it's terrifying to go to a doctor because I don't know what that doctor's going to say. So I think part of me has been putting it off because I don't want to hear news that I can't handle or that I did wait too long to have a family. And so I think I'm trying to get over that fear, and it's you have to now. But I have friends that have gone and they didn't get the news that they wanted to. So I think that's been part of my hesitation too. I'm fearful of what the information may be when I talk to the doctor.
We have come to know you and to love you, and we've watched your journey. What is the biggest, misconception about you? And how do you hope this book clears that up?
Yeah, I think people think I'm always angry and I'm always complaining about something. And it's
not true, by the way.
Yeah, I'm a lot of fun. Thank you, Katie. I can be fun and goofy and, silly and sensitive and vulnerable. And I think people think I'm just so hard up, I'm angry, and I'm always trying to find something I can call out or complain about. I hope that through this book, you see that a lot of times I had to. Because of who I am, because of what I've been through, because I can't help myself but stand up for what I think is right, or to be on the right side of things or fight for change. And a lot of times I say lighter things, but that doesn't get to be a headline.
Explain the idea behind the title, Miss Me With That.
The reason I chose this title is because it's something that I say all the time, just in like regular conversation. But at the same time, I wanted people to realize you're not getting the professional, put together Rachel. When you read this book, you're going to feel like I'm talking to you. It's a lot more casual. And at the same time, it's going to be a little sassy. It's going to be straight to the point. It's going to be unapologetic. Because I've gone through this in life and because I've experienced this, you can miss me with this because this is the lesson that I've learned from it, or this is why I'm not going to tolerate this thing anymore.
I also have to ask you about Peter. You write about this in the book. People were so invested in you guys. Why do you think that was, when in hindsight, he really wasn't that great of a guy? He wasn't really there. He wasn't opening up. He wasn't, being as you said, you compared him to one of your exes. So why did people care so much, do you think?
Bachelor Nation loves to praise mediocre people, mediocre men. I'm sorry, somebody had to say it. They do. They just love mediocrity. And I don't get it. I don't understand why. But before there was a Tyler Cameron that people went crazy over, it was Peter Kraus. And I don't think the show had ever, or the audience had ever been as infatuated Tyler after, but with a contestant as they were with Peter. And I knew it because there were moments when I was caught up in being infatuated with him. I was very into Peter, throughout my season. That's why our breakup was so hard. That was real. I remember I said to Peter in Fantasy Suites, I go, America's going to be obsessed with you. And he said, really? And I go, yeah, they will. And they were. And a lot of people still are. And I think that's what was so hard because people thought, how dare she, same thing they did to Hannah Brown. How dare Hannah Brown not choose Tyler? How dare Rachel not choose Peter? Because that's what they would have done. So if I didn't choose Peter, I must have been settling with Bryan because everybody wanted Peter.
You also write about how he was asking you about like the financial gains he could make if he were to be the Bachelor and all that kind of stuff. Was that actually a conversation? Was he considering being the Bachelor? Like, why wasn't he the Bachelor in your opinion?
So it was really like Fantasy Suites is a time to get to know people away from the camera. It's also important for me to ask, if you were offered the Bachelor, would you consider it? I remember Bryan was like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm not worried about that. Peter was like, well, they'd have to pay me enough money. And he threw out some wild number, like $500,000. And I was like, it's based off how much money you make in real life.
Right.
And like, there's a system to it. And he's like, well, I wouldn't do it unless it was this amount of money. And I was like, okay, well, they're never going to pay you that. So why he wasn't the Bachelor, I know they were interested in him. Why he wasn't, I don't know if his demands were too high. I don't know if the show ultimately made a decision. I'm not quite sure. But what I do believe, I'm going to say something I haven't said before.
Okay.
I hate this narrative that he turned it down. You can miss me with that. He didn't turn it down. Nobody would.
Right.
He did not turn down being the Bachelor. That I know.
Do you think they would ever offer it to him in the future? Do you think, you said people still care about him?
They do. I don't know. They love something for shock value. They love to do something that will shock people. And I think people would be shocked and excited to watch him as the lead. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you consider yourself done with reality TV? Would you and Bryan ever do a show? Have you talked about it?
If you ask Bryan, he would want to.
Oh.
I said that. If you ask Bryan, Bryan will want to do a reality show. I do not.
Why not?
I just can't see myself going back into that world. Here's the beauty of Bachelor Nation. You live in that bubble. You don't know what car I drive, where I live, who my friends are. You don't know anything about my reality. You just know me in that world. If I did reality TV again, I just don't think, unless I did like a Big Brother, there is no other world like that. If I did Housewives, you would know the inner workings of my entire life.
Yeah.
I'm more private in that way. Even if you see me on social media, I don't post that much about what's happening in my personal life in that way. I might write about it, I might podcast about it, but I don't like to let people in, the cameras in. So I don't know. Never
Is
say
that
never, but it's a no for me right now.
Thank you for watching. If you want more extra, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you'll never miss a video.